evening, everybody. Welcome back to Carrow Road. It feels like the Arctic rather than Norfolk. I'm going to be completely honest. It's absolutely freezing here tonight. Norwich City in action against Blackburn. 5:30 kickoff, of course, to television broadcast. Norwich City's team news is in. They are unchanged for this evening's game against Blackburn, which means they line up a little bit like this. Angus Gunn in goal, Aarons, Hanley, Gibson and McCallum in the back four, which will be a midfield three of Hayden, McLean, Sarah with Sinani and Sargent behind Temu Pukki. The subs bench only changed there is that Marcelino Nunez is back on it. So Norwich City have Krul on the bench, Omar Bamadelli, Dowell, Ida, Hernandez, Nunez and Liam Gibbs. How do you have it? Unchanged? Surprised? Not surprised? Give us your reaction to that team news.
Sinani staying in does surprise me, if I'm honest, Connor. I'm just see quick through. Is it Hernandez who's come off the bench to accommodate Nunez? Because if there's only one change there from the weekend at Swansea, no, he's there. So
no, Hernandez is there. Yeah.
Yanulis, Dowell, Gibbs, Ida. Yeah. Anyway, we'll come back to that. But no, immediate thoughts is Sinani. I don't think did anywhere near enough. More interestingly, is what is the shape? Is the shape still Hayden and Kenny McLean in a two, sat in front of that back four? In which case, if it's what they did at Swansea, it's Sinani on the right and Zara down the middle.
Sorry, Pad, I'll interrupt. No Yanulis on the bench this evening for Norwich.
Yeah,
He's the one who makes way for Marcelino Nunez to return to the bench. And, of course, still no Todd Cantwell or Aaron Ramsey either. Yeah,
Ramsey, not a huge surprise, I don't think. The way his body language was with us on Friday, Dean Smith, I didn't get the sense they wanted to risk him, Cantwell and Nunez. And of the three, it's only Nunez who's got anywhere near it. So, of course, we'll get an update from Dean Smith after the game. But no, I'm left underwhelmed by that, based on purely and simply what they didn't do with the ball at Swansea, who are getting roundly beaten at my boys at the minute, I might add. In terms of benchmarking a win at Swansea, just bear that one in mind. But, last shot that day at Swansea, 39th minute, second half, completely passive, retreated to Angus Gunn's box. And okay, yeah, I don't dispute that Swansea could have played for another hour or two and probably not looked any more threatening than they did. But with the ball, nowhere near good enough and he acknowledged it on Friday, Smith, until Gibbs came on and injected some dynamism in the middle of the park. He starts on the bench again tonight. Very tried and trusted, very safe almost. And we'll see whether that is good enough. Dean Smith certainly thinks this group, clearly, given the consistency and selection, are his best 11 right now. But we need to see far, far more with the ball than we did at Swansea after about 40 minutes in. So, bit disappointed, if I'm honest, with that unchanged lineup. I'll throw that one back to you, Connor. What's your reaction?
Yeah, underwhelmed. Yanulis is an interesting omission because actually I felt he would start today, given McCallum really had a real wobble actually just after half time. To the end of, or until he was replaced by Dimi Yanulis. That kind of felt like a real significant change that we were going to see. I did wonder if we would see Aaron Ramsey today. I've heard that he's trained pretty well this week by all accounts, but like you say, potentially either hopefully a setback or just a selection decision there. And then obviously no Todd Cantwell, which perhaps given what we heard last week maybe isn't a major surprise either. The shape is going to be interesting. I think, given it's unchanged, we'll see the same shape that we saw at Swansea last weekend, which was almost like a 4-3-2-1, wasn't it? Which was interesting. Like you said, there wasn't much attacking for us after that opening spell. I was expecting probably a few changes tonight, but nonetheless, that hasn't happened. And maybe, as the old adage goes in football about changing a winning team, Dean Smith potentially has lent into that one. So Blackburn, on the other hand, have made 6 changes to their starting 11 this evening. They, of course, were beaten 4-1 by Preston last weekend before the break as well. Lost the local derby, I think 3-0 to Burnley, didn't they? So no surprise to see John Dal Tomasson, not in his first season of management, making 6 changes this evening. And they line up like this: Kaminsky in goal, Rankin, Costello. It's a Carrow Road return for Danny Ayala. Hyam, Pickering as what looks to be about 4, Morton, Buckley, Dolan, Dack, Brereton, Diaz, and Sam Gallagher, the sub-bench. Piers, Walton, Mola, Travis, Hedges, Smoddatts, and Hurst. So 6 changes for Blackburn, which is interesting. Pad, let's speak about Danel Sinani, because he was given a real opportunity last week. In fairness, you could maybe argue that the type of game that it was didn't necessarily suit him. The fact that Norwich were defending for large portions of that game. He did, for example, turn over the ball inside the opening minute or so and play it through to Timu Buki that led to the corner that created the first goal. There were a couple of neat passes in Norwich City's best attacking spell, perhaps, but thereafter he faded. Given how his minutes were limited before the World Cup break, are you surprised that he's returned to the prominence that he has, namely ahead of Kieran Dow, for example, but also that he's been given another opportunity by Dean Smith again tonight?
Surprised that he's got another opportunity, but then, in terms of a consistency from Dean Smith, he clearly feels, and it can only be on the body of training work, really, that he's seen from Sinani, that 4-week break, maybe prior to and certainly after, that feels, no, this guy now deserves a run. And however well he didn't play last week, to pull him back out of the side and sit him on the bench and park him there for another however many games, probably doesn't send a good signal to him, firstly, but also maybe the group. They will be looking for signs from Smith that, he's settling on a group of players. He thinks, no, these are my go-tos now, and I'll back these. And okay, you might get a patchiness in performance, but ultimately, Dean Smith just has to turn around and say, well, what was the result last week? And it was a 1-0 win for Norwich. So by hook or by crook, however they achieved it, they got 3 points on the board and a clean sheet win. And Danel Sinani was part of that 11 that started the game. So, ultimately, it's, for me, another opportunity for Danel Sinani. But how many more opportunities is he going to get? He had the opportunity at the start of this season where he ousted, Mila Rashica, and deservedly so, because he really injected some dynamism down the right-hand side of that midfield in those opening few games. But like with Dowell, there was a game at Sunderland, and then there was a game at Birmingham. They both started and they both got hooked, and they were pretty ineffective. And thereafter, it was almost like Dean Smith didn't feel like he trust Sinani. But clearly, his opinion has shifted in recent games. Maybe that's also a reflection of what he wasn't seeing from the lads who were getting an opportunity. We can all see Nunez has dipped. Dowell hasn't really grasped it. Cantwell's been in and out. So he's going through his roster. He keeps telling us he thinks he's got a squad that's as good as any at this level. And he's putting that to the test. But if he doesn't really grasp it tonight, how many more opportunities will he get? So we'll see. But, ultimately, I think it's not just him tonight, is it? It's the other 10 who really need to perform with and without the ball, particularly here at Carrow Road. 1 win in 6 isn't anywhere near good enough, is it, ultimately?
Yes, you're right. I must confess I do have concerns about the levels of creativity in that Norwich City side, particularly with Aaron Ramsey absent and also Todd Cantwell as well. So there is going to be a lot of onus on the likes of Danel Sinani, and probably you throw Gabby Sara into that as well. Josh Sargent isn't a creative presence by any means, so that's going to be interesting to see how that transpires. But Norwich do have options on the bench. Of course, Adam Eder returning. Onel Hernandez can inject some pace if needed. Kieran Dow has creativity, so they have options to change this game. I guess Sam McCallum, again, we don't know whether this is through necessity or through kind of a decision that Dean Smith has made, but do you kind of agree with me that if Yanulis was fit and available for this weekend, then he probably would have started ahead of Sam McCallum, possibly? I maybe felt that on the evidence of what we saw in the second half, which Dean Smith obviously feels, given he made the change in the second half as well.
Well, we'll find out firstly after the game if there's an issue with Yanulis. It's hard to see him coming in and then finishing the game and then being out of the 18 purely on a kind of a tactical element. So I don't really buy that one at all. Again, we're talking about messages it sends to players. It wouldn't send a great message to Dimi Yanulis if he's fully fit and available and he's decided to go in a different direction purely in terms of their strategy. So we're better part of that one. But yeah, I mean, McCallum without the ball was very poor in the second half, but I thought he was as good as any Norwich player in the first half. I thought he was progressive. He was on the front foot. He offered that attacking threat, and he was good defensively when called upon. But he wasn't the only one who faded dramatically in that second half, and that's the question mark against him, his defensive instincts. But then, likewise, you knew this defensively. I think there's major question marks against him. So, you know, if you're comparing like for like, then I think both of them have to improve in that area. And I think overall, maybe he's looked at what McCallum's offered in this period since he came in, Burnley onwards, and felt he's still just a little bit ahead. But I mean, he said it yesterday. A battle royal, I think, was Dean Smith's phrase. So, you know, if that is the case, then he feels McCallum is just ahead of Giannoulis right now. But with that caveat that, you know, there might be an issue since we spoke to Dean Smith on Friday morning. I mean, obviously, after the Swansea game, he admitted he played a couple of cards close to his chest in terms of Ramsey and in terms of Cantwell. So it's entirely plausible there might be another update regarding Giannoulis and why he's not available today. But if you're asking me, am I surprised if Giannoulis was available that he's gone with McCallum? I don't think so, because I think much of a muchness, really. Both better going forward. Both need to improve defensively. And maybe right now he feels in that interest of getting some consistency in terms of selection, go with McCallum for the foreseeable.
Yep, let's bring you up to date with what's happening in the Championship at the minute, just to close, just to give you an idea of where Norwich City sit. Obviously, these games still going on at present. Burnley have turned round. They were losing 1-0 to Middlesbrough. They're now 3-1 up at Turf Moor. Stoke City beating Bristol City by 2-1. Cardiff and Blackpool is one apiece at this moment in time. Sunderland beating Hull at the moment, even though they've been reduced to 10 men. QPR under Neil Crickley look to have started well. They're 1-0 up at the moment against high-flying Preston, who obviously did beat Blackburn 4-1 last week, which is an interesting result. Swansea have pegged Coventry back to 2 goals. It's now 3-2 there at the CBS Arena. Watford are beating Huddersfield, and West Brom 3-0 up over Rotherham. So all of that means, as things stand, this was third v fourth heading into this game before all the other fixtures had been played. It's now currently fourth versus fifth. Watford's 1 goal advantage over Huddersfield has pushed them up to third. Obviously, Norwich could leapfrog both them and Blackburn into third with a victory here tonight. And crucially, obviously move, I'm trying to work that out, they will go a few more points between them and Preston in 7th. I think it would be 4 points, wouldn't it? The gap to 7th, which would at least give them a little bit of a margin to play with over the festive period. I'm just trying to look at what else is relevant in the table. Of course, Blackburn win here tonight and they would move 4 points ahead of Norwich City and into third, which at this stage of the season, this is the halfway point of the season, would be pretty worrying by all accounts. Burnley, as things stand, 12 points clear of Norwich City at the top of the Championship, and that is how we look at it. There we go. So let's see what we get tonight. It's perfectly poised on the back of that. Let's see how it all transpires. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, Pink and Plus is the place to go for live coverage this evening, analysis and reaction as well across all our channels after this game. We'll leave you with a sight of a very cold-looking Carrow Road this evening. Whether you're joining us down here or whether you're watching on TV, enjoy the game, and we'll see you very, very soon.